Hi, this is Daniela, and welcome to Bestie Life, the podcast, where we help you stop burnout now. If you're tired of running on empty, juggling all the things, and wondering when your life is supposed to feel better, you're in the right place. This show is your go-to space for real talk and practical strategies to help you protect your energy, create balance, and actually enjoy the life you're working so hard for. You'll get a mix of solo episodes and honest conversations with guests. My goal is to help you feel less alone, more empowered, and way more in control of your time and energy and well-being. So let's get into it. Hi, this is Daniela with Bestie Life, the podcast. And today I'm excited for you to meet Andie Henrich. She is a visionary executive, transformational coach, and sought-after keynote speaker whose mission is to ignite authenticity as a powerful catalyst for growth in business, leadership, and life. She is the founder of Authenticity Ignited, and I'm excited to dive in and just find out everything that she's doing and how she helps. So thank you so much, Andie, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Daniela. It's great to be here.
So can you kind of give us just a brief overview of what your journey was like, how you kind of ended up in this position to help leaders and businesses be more authentic?
Sure. So it was, I would say it was a perfect storm. I always call it was kind of the perfect storm because I've been working for corporate America, globally in Latin America, then in the US for over 25 years. And it came to that point where I was not feeling super fulfilled. I was feeling that that was not exactly the place I wanted to be at. And I was in my 50s already, and my daughter went to college, and it was like all those kinds of things that happen in a woman's life. And I was like, okay, I don't think this is a place where I want to be right now in this point, at this point of my life. And I started to do my coaching training. And then I realized more things about me and how it matters for us to be who we truly are. And when I mean who we truly are, I mean acting according to our values. So
Mm-hmm.
what I value in my life is this, then I want to act accordingly. Because when we don't, we actually add stress to ourselves and we don't even realize that. But that conflict of us doing what we don't truly feel we want to do or we need to do that makes us feel fulfilled, it generates stress, it generates conflict. So I found
Mm-hmm.
myself in that situation and I said, well, okay, I don't want to be here anymore. And I just left without a plan B. And yeah, many people would say, I wouldn't do that. I couldn't do that. But yeah, well, it was like that of my mental health. And I chose to do that. And as I said, I started to do my coaching training and I realized that I'm not the only one. There are many people out there that need help, that are going through these life transitions, that don't choose to be in these life transitions, but they end up being in these situations. And I really feel the call to help them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I realized, that that's what makes me feel fulfilled. Like seeing people that are going through kind of the same things, different things, but at the end of the day, life transitions. And I'm glad that I can be of help.
Yeah. And I love the fact that, you were able to take such big, bold steps. But I think, like you said, a lot of people, they can't see beyond where they're at
Yeah.
and not even recognizing, you don't have to kind of light your whole life on fire and blow it up. You can do it in small, incremental steps in a way that's going to feel good for you, right?
Absolutely. And actually, that is the way to do significant changes. I mean, unless you want to do the crazy things that I did, which I do not recommend. But, life has its ways to take us places, right? And that just the way it happened, that's the beauty of coaching, right? Like the fact that it happened to me doesn't mean that it's going to work the same way for another person, right? So that's the beauty
Mhm.
of coaching, understanding what are each person's particularities, and finding those sweet spots and trying to get there and recognizing the other person's strengths. So what you said is absolutely on spot on. Big changes are the result of small steps, of
Mhm.
baby steps, and those baby steps create actions, and those actions become habits, and then those habits become the new person that you're going to become, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely small steps.
Yeah. And I think too, a lot of times people, even if they're not unhappy in their life, I think we forget our whole point is to keep going forward, to keep
Mm,
growing, to keep kind of reinventing ourselves in a positive way. It doesn't have to come from a negative place of I'm unhappy, I'm miserable. And I think that's the other thing that probably stops people sometimes too is they don't see that need for growth. They kind of plant where they're at.
Well, absolutely, but at some point we need to also understand it makes sense, right? Nobody
Yeah.
likes to being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, to your point, is growth doesn't happen in our comfort zone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't want to. Today, I realized that I want to feel uncomfortable. Nobody wakes up and says that, right? So, I feel uncomfortable today. I feel like today I can deal with discomfort. I mean, nobody says that. Of course, I want to be happy and I want to wake up happy every day and just say that I want to fulfill my life. But the truth is, as I was saying, life takes you sometimes to places and I'm not comfortable here, but yeah, I'm not going to move in this direction. I'm going to move in that direction because actually, I do believe that there's more for me in that direction than on this one. And that's what I have the pleasure and the privilege and the honor to help people realizing today. And
Mm-hmm.
we end up going to different places and places that people don't even realize that they can go. But that's the beauty of it. And that's amazing. It's just so humbling to be able to do
Yeah.
that.
Well, because like you said too, a lot of times we get so comfortable in our discomfort, we don't even recognize it as uncomfortable anymore,
Mm,
you know?
that is a great point. It's the known evil,
Yeah.
right? Is that I know it's not comfortable, but it's known. I'm used to this.
Mm-hmm.
But what why do you need to be comfortable there? Why do you need to know that? But yeah,
Right.
but again, that is up to everybody and every single individual. And some of us are willing to deal with some stuff. Some of us are just saying, you know what? Nope, nope, not anymore. And it's
Mm-hmm.
it's just to each its own particular situation. But to those out there who are willing to explore what could happen eventually if I just dare to do something, well, those people most probably are going to find more options in their
Mm-hmm.
lives and more chances to probably feel fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
It's out of
Yeah. And that,
curiosity. I always call it curiosity, right? If you're curious enough to keep asking why and to keep questioning why you do the things you do and why you don't the things you don't, I mean that will take you somewhere. And it's just fascinating to see that.
yeah. And you can apply that to the relationships you're in, to the
Oh,
job you're
absolutely.
in, all, across the board. You know, there's no
Absolutely.
one lens to look at this through.
It's funny when you see that when we're babies, you see babies that are absolutely curious, and then we start growing up and we start adjusting to something. Could be your parents' expectations, your family expectations, your partner expectations, your children's expectations, but you end up adjusting. And
Mm-hmm.
we lose that curiosity. We lose that why. And why, the 3 years old, why and why and why. Isn't that beautiful? I
Mm-hmm.
wish we could come back to that when we're adults. But we
Yeah.
just tend to just find an explanation for it. Why am I here today?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah, there's so many
Great.
things as kids that I think we need to come back to as adults. Besides
Exactly.
asking why, we need to be comfortable failing. We need to be
Yeah,
comfortable doing things we're not good at and all that kind of stuff.
absolutely. And we would be so much wiser, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have so many situations that I'm really not comfortable with. And I'm just I'm gonna do it anyway. And I realized that maybe the way I was doing it or why I was doing it, but something around that was triggering something. And I'm just
Yeah.
curious about that. What is this triggering in me? So let's stop and breathe.
Right.
What is this triggering? Why am I getting mad at it? I hate cooking. Okay, why? And then it's just going deeper and deeper and deeper. And then I just found out that actually, for me, I don't love it. But when I cook for my children, I do find happiness there because I
Mm-hmm.
see their faces, and I cook I made food from Argentina. They don't get to eat that every day. So just when it's for them, I love it. When it's for me, I don't. Look, why and
Mm-hmm.
why, and just getting that curiosity back we our lives would be so much more enriched, right?
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like that first step in finding some authenticity, finding out kind of what you're not okay with or where you want to get uncomfortable is diving into that why.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And just questioning, and it doesn't have to be like, why do I hate cooking? It's just, why am I breathing? Right? It's just what the most automatic things. And if you just, for example, if you start wondering, why am I breathing? And then you realize that when our nervous system is triggered just by breathing deep, you can calm
Mm-hmm.
down. And I'm
Right.
not saying just religious stuff or mystical stuff or kumbayas. I'm just speaking science, right?
Right.
When we have deep breaths, it's a signal to our nervous system that it's fine, it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. So when we realize that we're triggered, just stop and breathe. And our grandparents were telling us before you react, count until 1,000. One Mississippi, two Mississippi, three Mississippi. Just let's go back to that. Just
Right.
breathe.
So it
Just,
doesn't have to be, why am I at this job? What am I doing with my life? It's, why don't I want to cook dinner on the
Mhm.
daily? Why don't
Exactly.
I feel like going for a walk? To examine those small areas that you maybe want as a goal or feel like you want something different, but haven't been motivated to make that change. So now that you've done the why, you've kind of figured out a little bit of where it's coming from or what motivates you. What would be that next step then, Andie?
It's understanding, getting to know yourself better, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I call the authenticity. So, what is authenticity, and how do we realize if we are acting in an authentic way? Is understanding what our values are,
Mm-hmm.
what is important to me, what matters to me. And those values are not static, right? My values are not the same one now that I'm 52 that those what I had when I was 25, right?
Mm-hmm.
Success, is the same thing to me that it was the definition of success I had when I was 25. So those values go changing, but once we realize the way we're acting is the question, are we acting accordingly to our values? And that is going to come up for the fulfillment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is a very interesting point because it's hard for me many times to coach people when we don't align in our values. And I'm talking about moral values,
Yeah.
to those deeper uh, convictions and beliefs, and it's really interesting to see how that path would take you. And so when you are acting in alignment to your core values, I mean, you're gonna find that fulfillment. And that is just a continuous exercise that needs to be reviewed, eventually, periodically. And when I talk to my clients, I'm like, I don't want to be your coach forever. I mean, the best sign of me as a coach is that in, I don't know, 6 sessions, 10 sessions, 6 months, we don't talk anymore, at least not about the same thing. We can
Right.
be talking about other stuff, but not about this, because I would expect that after X period of time, you just mastered it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is the authenticity. That is finding out in what aspects we want to get deeper into that curiosity and get to know ourselves better, so we can actually strive, and we realize what our values are, and make sure that acting according to them, and that's where we find the fulfillment.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes, if you're not sure what direction to go, and I heard this quote once, the phrase must be nice is an arrow pointing in the direction that you need to go in. And so if you're struggling to like figure out what's authentic, figure out what are those things that you look at somebody else and go, oh, must be
Would
nice.
be nice, yeah.
Like that should be a window into an area for you to get curious about, because obviously there's a underlying kind of emotion tied to that.
And then that we go back to the curiosity when we were kids, right? So why am I feeling this? Again, the triggers. Why am I feeling this trigger? And the triggers could be negative or positive, right? Because if you see a positive trigger, you see something as it must be nice to have that, or to
Mm-hmm.
be like that, or to be able to blah blah blah. But why do I want that? Why do I crave that? Where is it coming from? Where is the calling that I'm here? And that's how we realized that I wanted to be a coach. And I really want for other women that were in my situation, being super, in theory, super successful in your lives and being a VP of a company. But
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't feeling that happiness. I wasn't feeling that those bubbles in my those butterflies in my stomach when I wake up. I was like, I go to the office, and I wasn't feeling that. And
Mm-hmm.
why? Why I'm not feeling that anymore? What is it that I'm craving that I'm not having it anymore? And
Mm-hmm.
that's when the curiosity needs to be back, and we need to be open to that. And it's not easy. It's
Yeah.
absolutely not easy.
Right. I've kind of two things I wanted to ask. One, so if you're like in a position of leadership and you're not necessarily looking to change that, would it be more than about getting curious as far as your department, your people, your
Mm,
processes, and those kind of things? Like, can you take that kind of curiosity and redirect it where it's not about changing the situation you're in, but changing how you're interacting with it?
absolutely, absolutely. I work with companies that hire coaches, and it's could be for motivation, it could be for performance, it could be some people need a promotion, but the promotion is not always up. Many times it's to the sides. So absolutely. I mean, it doesn't have to be okay. And probably that is a common fear, right? I don't want to sit down because I don't know. I'm scared about what I could realize if I start asking a lot of whys. I don't want to go there, right? It could be a Pandora box. I don't know what I'm gonna find there. But it doesn't have to be absolutely different. Okay, now in 6 months you're gonna be, a musician. It doesn't have to be like that. It's just happened to me in that way because I was like way out of whack, but it doesn't
Right.
have
No,
to be that way all the
absolutely.
time.
Are there daily practices that you integrate into your life to kind of help you stay authentic? Because, like you said, I think in general, we all start off on that path and then we get comfortable, and we don't even see then sometimes when things are out of alignment. Are there things that then to kind of help maintain staying on the course with that authenticity?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I don't want to sound mystic or but definitely I have started incorporating a lot of introspection, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of moments when I'm just with myself. Like for example, in between sessions, I have a coaching session and I know I have a client later and I need to prepare for the session. I cannot just not go with the energy that I end up one session and just jump on another one. Like when
Mm-hmm.
we're in our corporate lives, we just go from one meeting to the other, and maybe we just go to the bathroom in the meantime, or we get a coffee. We
Yeah.
can do that, right? So I need to go back. I need to close that session, go back, breathe, go outside, probably walk barefoot, breathe, meditate.
Mm-hmm.
I need to incorporate those coming back to my center so I can be better positioned for the next task.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what usually we call going in automatic pilot, right?
Mm-hmm.
The worst thing we can do, I mean, well, there could be other worse things, worse thing than this, but one thing that is not really healthy when you're trying to get into this path of authenticity is going on automatic pilot.
Mm-hmm.
That would
Yeah.
be the opposite of asking why, right? So we want to have those options to come back. I mean, I was there. I was in my life when I was like back-to-back meetings, and I wouldn't even have time to go to the bathroom. I wouldn't even have time to have lunch. And I'll be at 5 p.m. starving and thirsty, and I was just mad. And
Mm-hmm.
I was not productive, but I thought I was super productive. I had like 15 meetings today. That is the synonym of being productive. Well, okay, what actually did you accomplish? So those are the things that you need to come back to. I need to make sure that you actually do those things because getting in touch with your body, getting in touch with your mind, getting in touch with your spirit, that is what brings you back to your center. When
Yeah.
you're off center, that is when you're not gonna be finding those sweet spots.
So even if you're listening right now and you're thinking, yeah, I'm in my corporate job, I can't necessarily leave. Look at what your day looks like. Look at how aligned it is, with how you want to show up each day. Are you finding space and time for yourself in between all the things you have to do, as well as then making that time for the things you want to do, centering yourself, making sure you're still on your to-do list on a day-to-day basis and incorporating you. I love to always talk about as well gratitude. It's one of my favorite self-care
Mm.
practices because it's so simple, so easy to incorporate in so many different ways. And so I always love to ask my guests, what would you say are some of the things you're the most grateful for? Maybe one or two.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I have my 5 minutes gratitude meditation every night. And
Mm-hmm.
for those of us who believe in manifestations and abundance and all those things, I mean, the best way to manifest abundance and the best way to really value where you are, who you are with, what you have is just by being grateful. So
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, just for the most basic things, it could be one day that I'm grateful for something super extraordinary, and some days I'm just like grateful because I'm healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Grateful because I was able to walk barefoot in nature. Grateful because it was not 98 degrees and torching hot here in Georgia. Grateful because I was able to have some time for me to go have an ice cream with my son. It could be like because I have a beautiful house. It could be because I just saw a beautiful butterfly.
Yeah.
It's a practice, it's a habit. And the more we practice it, the more we're gonna get to value the small things in life. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where happiness is. It's not just
Yeah.
the great, extraordinary things. It's just paying attention and be grateful for the small things in life that make it beautiful and interesting.
Absolutely. Those are the things you can sustain on a regular day-to-day basis versus some of those bigger highs and lows for sure.
Yeah.
So how can people find you, Andie? How could they work with you?
So they definitely go to my website, andiehenrich.com. And I have a gift for people who go to my
Oh,
website.
awesome.
And yeah, so we call in coaching, we have this tool that we call the wheel of life, right? So
Hmm.
we have all the aspects of our life and we just put it out there, 7, 8 aspects, and we just say friendship, really, our partners, our families, our work, our finances. And we just go and just say, okay, where we'd like to be in this, because we cannot expect to be a 10 and everything, but we know we just put some values there, and then we check on where we actually are. And then we see, okay, there's a gap here. I realized that I would like to be a 7 with my friends. And actually, I'm currently at a 4. Okay, is this something really important for me? What can I do? So see, having these moments to reflect, I think that would sparkle something. And if you're
Hmm.
curious enough, you're gonna want to know more. What can I do and what can I implement? So if you go to my site, just book something. You can get there. We get a complimentary wheel of life. We can talk about that, and definitely if that sparks something in you, we can definitely start a conversation.
Awesome. And those links will definitely be live in the show notes below. So thank you so much, Andie, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Daniela. It was great.
Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you got something out of this episode that really made you feel seen, supported, or just a little bit more grounded. If you have any questions or thoughts, I'd love to hear from you. And if you're up for it, please leave me a 5-star review. That will help more people find the show and join this community. I'll leave you with 2 of my favorite quotes. Alone, we may be strong, but together we're stronger. And when we support each other, incredible things happen. So let's keep showing up for ourselves and each other, and maybe even have some fun while we're at it. I'll talk to you soon.